Donald Trump created a mess in the Middle East, and he clearly has no plan for how to end it.
It will be wrapped up soon. We're going to have a much safer world.
Right now, as you're watching this video, America is in crisis mode. Shouting 13. American service members are dead. 200 more have been wounded. Oil prices have exploded past $104 a barrel. The global food supply is being crushed. Our NATO allies have told Trump this is not our war. And now, in a development that has sent shockwaves through Washington, Trump's own counterterrorism director, a Gold Star husband, an ultra-MAGA loyalist, a man who completed 11 combat tours, has resigned, saying he cannot in good conscience support this war in Iran. Surprised, his post went viral with over 74 million views on X alone. Let's start with the story that broke Washington open just hours ago. Joe Kent, director of the National Counterterrorism Center, has resigned. Now, let me be very clear about who Joe Kent is, because this is not some establishment Democrat or some anti-Trump liberal. This is a man who was handpicked by Donald Trump, a man who supported Trump loudly, publicly, and consistently. He lost his wife in combat. He served 11 tours of duty. He was ultra-MAGA to his core, and yet he walked into that building and he said, "I quit." Why? Because he believes this war in Iran was based on a lie, that Iran did not pose an imminent nuclear threat, that this war was started without congressional approval, without a plan, and without the interests of the American people in mind. His resignation letter, posted on X, has already been seen by tens of millions of Americans. And what's striking is how many of those viewers are MAGA supporters who are saying, "We're done. We're out. We cannot support this." When the people inside the Trump machine start jumping ship, that tells you everything you need to know about how badly this war is going. Before we get to what Democrats are saying on Capitol Hill, I need us to stop for a moment, because this is not just about politics. This is not just about points on a scoreboard. 13 American sons and daughters are gone. 13 flag-draped coffins arrived at Dover Air Force Base. 13 families got the knock on their door. 13 lives over because of a war that was launched without congressional authorization, without consulting our allies, and apparently without a clear strategy. Time magazine has documented the names and stories of every one of these fallen heroes. And what was Donald Trump doing while these families were grieving? He was at a press conference talking about the Irish Open at Trump golf properties. He was sending fundraising emails using photos of the dignified transfer of fallen soldiers, wearing a campaign hat at Dover in front of coffins, and then using those images to ask for donations. Let that sink in. The Army Times, a publication that speaks for and to military families, covered this story. And the message from veterans and their families has been clear. This is a disgrace. Now let's talk about what's happening on Capitol Hill, because Democrats across the board are not whispering their concerns. They are screaming them, and they are naming names. Let's start with House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. The top Democrat in the House of Representatives went on CNN and called this, quote, "a reckless war of choice." He accused President Trump of ignoring the Constitution, of bypassing Congress, of launching an unauthorized war that has already cost American lives and is now rattling the entire global economy. Now, let me bring in someone whose voice carries extraordinary weight on this topic. Representative Yasemin Ansari, the first Iranian-American Democrat ever elected to the United States Congress. Think about that for a second. Her parents fled Iran. She grew up between two worlds. She loves America. She has deep connections to the Iranian people, and she's watching this administration launch a war on her ancestral homeland without a plan, without justification, and without congressional approval. She spoke out powerfully, calling out Pete Hegseth as completely out of his depth, someone who thinks this is a video game while American lives hang in the balance. She said he needs to be, quote, fired or impeached immediately. And then there's Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. She minced no words, calling out not just the incompetence of this war, but the fundamental failure of leadership. She pointed to the fact that Trump did not consult our allies before launching these strikes, and now, when he desperately needs those allies to help police the Strait of Hormuz, they are turning him away. You enter a war of choice, she said, and then you beg for help. It's pathetic. It's embarrassing. She also raised a question that more and more Americans are asking. Was this war fought in the interest of the American people or someone else's? These are the kinds of questions that Congress is demanding answers to right now through the War Powers Resolution. Here's where things get even more alarming. Trump launched this war. He didn't tell our allies, he didn't build a coalition, he didn't consult NATO, and now, as the Strait of Hormuz sits closed and oil prices are crashing through the roof, Trump is begging our allies for help, and every single one of them is saying, not our war. Germany said it, France said it, the NATO alliance collectively said it. Trump responded by threatening NATO, saying they face a very bad future if they don't send warships to help reopen the strait. Let me say that again. The President of the United States is threatening our 75-year alliance because he started a war alone. It went badly, and now he needs a rescue. The United States under this administration is now more isolated on the world stage than at any point in modern history. This is what leadership failure looks like in real time. And here's what every American, regardless of your politics, should be furious about. This war is hitting your wallet. When Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, about 20% of the world's oil supply and 30% of global LNG immediately became choked off. Oil prices surged past $104 a barrel. And gas prices at the pump skyrocketing, European energy prices surging, global stock markets being rattled. But here's what nobody is talking about enough. It's not just oil. CNBC reported that disruption to the Strait of Hormuz threatens fertilizer exports, petrochemical supplies, and critical agricultural commodities. That means food prices are about to get worse, right on top of the inflation Americans were already dealing with. And while all of this is happening, and while Americans are paying more for gas, more for groceries, more for everything, what is Donald Trump focused on? The Irish Open at Trump Golf Properties. I am not making this up. In the middle of a military conflict with 13 American soldiers dead, with oil above $104, with NATO refusing to cooperate, Trump stood with the Prime Minister of Ireland and talked about how well his golf courses are doing over there. The President of Ireland, by the way, has publicly compared Trump to a war criminal. Let's talk about Pete Hegseth, because if you want to understand why this war has gone so badly, you need to look at the man who was put in charge of the Pentagon, a former Fox News anchor, no military leadership experience at the highest levels, a man who was confirmed only by the vice president's tie-breaking vote. Democrats on Capitol Hill are furious. One congressman who sits in classified briefings said this about Hegseth, and I'm quoting directly here, "I am embarrassed for him. He can do nothing beyond read the script that's given him. He can't answer detailed questions. He doesn't understand the strategy, not that there is one. He doesn't understand the tactical or operational questions. He is in way the hell over his head." That is coming from someone who attends the same classified briefings as Hegseth, not from a TV pundit, not from social media, from inside the room. And members of Congress aren't just criticizing. Calls for Hegseth to be fired or even impeached are growing louder by the day. Here's the part that should alarm every American. 5,000 American troops are reportedly on their way to the Middle East. Trump has not ruled out boots on the ground. And when asked directly by members of Congress, by journalists, by the American people, what is the exit strategy for this war? There is no answer. There is no plan. There is no coalition. There is no end date. This is the very definition of a foreign policy disaster. Now, here's the part of this story that the mainstream media may be sleeping on, but we are going to cover it completely. Trump's base is cracking. This isn't just Democrats criticizing. This isn't just liberal media. Joe Kent's resignation post got 74 million views on X, and the majority of the people responding to it are MAGA voters saying they are done. This is what happens when you campaign on America first and end the wars, and then you start a new war without a vote, without allies, without a plan, and watch American soldiers come home in coffins. When people like Joe Kent, who literally bled for this country, who lost their spouse in combat, who backed Trump through everything, draw a line in the sand and say, not this, that is a political earthquake. So where do we go from here? The War Powers Resolution fight is happening right now in Congress. Democrats are fighting to force a vote that would compel Trump to end unauthorized military hostilities against Iran. Here's the truth, and I want to look you in the eyes and tell you this directly. This war, whether you supported Trump before or not, is your business, because you are paying for it, because your sons and daughters are fighting in it, because your gas prices, your grocery bills, your retirement accounts are being impacted by it. 13 Americans are already dead, 200 more are wounded, and the President of the United States wore a campaign hat to receive their coffins and then used those images to ask for money. That is the reality of where we are. The people on Capitol Hill, both Democrats and increasingly individuals within Trump's own circle, are demanding accountability, and the American people deserve to know every detail of how we got here and what comes next. We are going to keep covering this story every single day because independent media, channels like this one, are the only places where you're going to get the full picture. Not just the clips they want you to see, not just the spin from either side, the facts, the sources, the voices, the receipts. If you learned something today, if this gave you context that the 30-second news cycle couldn't, do me one favor. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, drop a comment below. Tell me, what is the one story from today that shocked you most? And share this video with someone who needs to see it, because an informed America is a powerful America. This is Daniel. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay loud. I'll see you in the next one.